Two Real Reviews, two reviewers with no agenda. My name is Smeet Bass, and I am introducing a new occasional series today called When Good Directors Take One for the Team. What does that mean? I'm talking about the times when good directors saw the Hollywood system at work that everyone on the internet has complained about for decades, and were so secure in their reputations as artists that they wanted to do as little damage as possible. In this episode, I'm going to talk about the 1998 remake of Psycho, directed by Gus Van Sant. If you subscribe to my channel, and thank you if you do, you will learn very fast that the horror genre is my absolute favorite genre. I have so many plans for horror movies on here for the rest of the year. You're in for some fun if you like horror movies as much as I do. If you're here for a full review of the film, I won't be doing that. I think there's so much negativity about this film, and was there even before the film was released. Gus Van Sant has made wonderful films in his career, such as Drugstore Cowboy and My Own Private Idaho, and his big break was 1997's Good Will Hunting. I've always viewed him as a great director who takes big chances with films like To Die For and Elephant Man. Van Sant is a great director. I've read a bunch of interviews and articles about his success, and I am not attached to the Hollywood system in any way. But I have been watching movies religiously my entire life, and I know the inner workings of Hollywood pretty well.
This came from having meetings with the studios and having them say, we do have some projects that you might be interested in doing. So when they'd give me the list, they would send me screenplays. Within those lists were always like remakes of like one or two movies that they had in their library. If you wanted to remake a movie, you should remake a movie like Psycho. But when you remake it, you could update it, you could make it in color, you could cast modern day actors to play the characters, leaving the script the same and leaving every shot the same. To me, remake meant to remake it, it didn't mean like changing around, because then it wouldn't be a remake.
The way I understand the sequence of events, and this is a lot of putting puzzle pieces together, is that after Good Will Hunting got all the acclaim that it did, Hollywood allowed this quote-unquote new director to show up to their clubs, even though he had directed 7 feature films before, and just let them in their inner circle, I guess. I'm sure once Van Sant exploded in popularity, many great actors probably wanted to work with him because he was being viewed as a big-time Oscar-nominated director. Look at the cast attached to this project. Philip Baker Hall, a beloved and wonderful actor in some Paul Thomas Anderson films and Secret Honor from 1984, where he played Richard Nixon, directed by the legendary Robert Altman. Robert Forster, who had just been in Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown the previous year. William H. Macy, does he even need an introduction at this point? Julianne Moore, ditto to the previous question. This is huge talent, and even the leads were starting to get big back then. Anne Heche was in I Know What You Did Last Summer the previous year, and Vince Vaughn was basically unknown at this point, so I'm sure he knew that this was his shot to make it. I could never blame any of these people because they have all done work that we love. Rest in peace, Anne Heche, by the way. Van Sant has stated that Psycho was one of his favorite movies that inspired him, which, of course it did. It's Psycho.
I'm doing it.
You've never done it before.
I did an appropriation of a shower scene, yes.
Honey, I'm all out of my dandruff shampoo. Can I borrow some of yours?
I'm all out too, honey, but try this.
New Psycho shampoo. It takes care of dandruff, and then some.
He remade the shower scene in a fan film when he was 27. This guy loves Psycho. Somehow through his newfounded power, he had gotten word that Universal Pictures optioned to have his all-time classic remade. I'm sure this really pissed him off, but he knew that it was going to get made anyway, so I can see him confident in his reputation and skills as a filmmaker, and having discussions with the studios and basically saying, if your dumbasses are going to do this, at least let me make it so you guys don't mess this up. When I was a child, my mom had Entertainment Weekly, and they interviewed Van Sant. My mom said to me, at least this guy knows that remakes are a dumb idea. Because in the interview, he had said, quote, whenever I went to Universal Studios, there was always some guy with a list of old B movies they wanted to remake. So in reaction to that, I suggested they find a really good movie and not change anything. That's his professional way of saying, these people are all morons, I'll take this bullet. I'm willing to bet, based on what Van Sant made after this remake, that he saw the Hollywood system and got out of their circle as fast as he could. I respect that as much as the great directors who have made films that all of us love. To realize there's a problem and you're willing to stake your reputation to fix what you view as a mistake, we really need more people like this in Hollywood. He even was quoted that remakes are bullshit, except his language was more sophisticated than what I just said.
Been seeing Psycho. I just wanted to work with Gus. Bathroom?
Mm-hmm. If you want.
Robert Forrester said about the remake, quote, "They don't change Hamlet whenever some new company puts on a production." And you know what? He's right. As laughably awful as the 2019 Cats was, at least they tried to sort of keep it this bad example. But you get what I mean. A lot of people still celebrate this as an art form and want to preserve the things that become legends. Since remakes were already going on when the Psycho remake came out, and then just began to explode even more in tons of genres starting in the 2000s, Van Sant did the brilliant thing of making it basically a shot-for-shot remake, with a few of his signatures, such as making the amount of money Marion stole be
$400,000 cash.
$400,000 instead of $40,000 because economics. Lila Crane also having the line, "Let me grab my Walkman," instead of her coat because technology evolution. I know they were going for some kind of like modern, somewhat-ish interpretation. Sorry, I've studied this movie to death over the course of my life, and I've seen it probably 30 times. I may actually know it better than the original on a technical level, but I still prefer the original, I promise you.
In quite a hurry.
In quite a hurry.
It would become a vapor movie, one that you forget 5 minutes after you see it. He couldn't have predicted the explosion of the internet, though, could he?
Action. Action.
By the remake being nothing more than movie junk food, a forgettable remake that was never meant to be enjoyed but to be forgotten. I respect that professionalism, and I always value great directors like Gus Van Sant. I also love the scene in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back more now, where Gus plays himself making fun of himself.
Okay.
So, action, Gus, or?
Jesus, Ben, I said I'm busy. Busy.
I watched the remake again just before recording this video. If you take it completely by itself and show it to someone who doesn't even know what Psycho is, it is a well-directed film with great shots and good performances from mostly the supporting cast. So I would say that if parents hate black and white movies but want to get their children into horror films, this is actually a pretty okay introduction to what would eventually become the slasher genre. For the other 99.9% of us in this world, it's a curiosity film that we all wondered why it never existed. I hope I am giving more insight to that now as to why. If I'm ever asked to what I rate this film, I will say that I'd rate it 2 stars out of 4 or a C for a letter grade. The secret worst review that could come from someone, because they're so middling that we never think about them again. Except films like this strange experiment, of course, because I guess I just like weird processes in movies. I can't end this video without giving some love to the underappreciated sequels. Well, mostly underappreciated. Psycho 2 is genuinely a good psychological horror film that, while not as good as the original, is still an effective horror film as you watch what happens when Norman is released from the asylum. The film has some wonderful moments, and I recommend it as a standalone film. View it as a companion piece to Psycho 1. Psycho 3 is the funniest movie of the series. It has some moments in it that will make you laugh from how humorous the writing is. It's the first one to have a sense of humor like this, and it can't be classic for me. Watch the icebox scene, and you will know what I'm talking about. Psycho 4 was a made-for-TV movie, but it's still a solid entry. Anthony Perkins was good in every film because he knew the character better than anyone. I would say he even knew the character better than Hitchcock. It was a made-for-TV. It had its made-for-TV limitations, but it's a decent character study and gives you more insight into Norman's relationship with his mother. It gets a little incestuous, but it isn't offensive about it. I recommend all 4 Psycho films. You just have to go into each one with the proper mindset. I haven't seen them in a while, but I'm sure I'd feel the same way I did when I watched them last time. I hope to review all of them someday. I'm doing a horror tribute all of October called Horrortober, which will basically have as many horror movies and videos about horror movies as I can do in 1 month. So I hope you stick around for that. That's all for this episode of When Good Directors Took One for the Team. What are your feelings on the Psycho remake? Please let me know in the comments. We also review new movies, review silent films every Sunday, and much, much more to come. If you like, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.